Neville Christie has always been one step ahead in his big picture thinking about the future. Now he's placed his unquenchable energy into a new global collaborative community called Innovation Squad. That's fine, many will say, but where's the money going to come from to build the new ideas of the future, the transformative ideas that will benefit everyone? But that's the big difference that Innovation Squad brings to innovation. The big word here is sharing. The sharing of ideas and resources between individuals, businesses, compatible groups, so that one step at a time, life-changing ideas, attitudes and ways of doing things take shape. Our ability to change the world is at our fingertips, Neville says. We can all play a part, individually and together, to help solve the world's problems. And there's no time like now to get involved. Neville has always reminded us that big problems, such as what we have in the world right now, will always create big opportunities. So, Heather Dawson asks, is that truer now than ever before?
Oh, yes, the world is absolutely chock-a-block full of opportunity at the moment, Heather, and at age 79, I'm just greedy to grab a few more of them. Many of them are, I think, are usefully centred on the 17 developmental goals of the United Nations. And for anyone who is wanting to get a fix on what they might do to change the world and make it better, I strongly recommend they just simply do a search of 17 sustainable United Nations goals. There's 17 massive problems there that need attention.
In other words, do a bit of research, but open your eyes to where the possibilities are.
Yes, and one of the things that the Innovation Squad around the world are stressing is that you can actually kickstart your own innovation practice, first of all by, strangely, practicing the habit of gratitude. Problems tend to relate to a negative state of mind or, seeing the world going to hell in a basket, all that sort of stuff. But when we habitually start the practice of gratitude and we count our blessings and we look for what's good in the world and good in people and look at that refrigerator. Isn't it fascinating? Isn't it wonderful that somebody designed that? I just love Western plumbing, I can go into my bathroom and I can use all the facilities. I can have all this hot water. It can be that sort of simple gratitude. And when we start with that, we start to see how we can transform problems into opportunities. And then the second key thing that's coming out from all around the world is that we can practice the habit of curiosity. And curiosity is not going around with our eyes wide shut, but going around with our eyes wide open, and start the third thing, which is questioning. Why do you do that? How did that happen? What is the cause of that? How could we make that better? What would you do differently if you had the resources? So, gratitude, open our eyes, curious to the world of why it's so, start questioning, and then play. Like as kids, we created the world playfully. We laughed, and life is either a tragedy or a comedy. I personally choose it to be a comedy. And the more we laugh, the more we play, the more we start to create and innovate, and things just flow.
And we don't have to be technological whizzes
I'm a technological idiot. I don't really am.
In other words, we haven't got to be Dyson or Tesla.
Absolutely. No, because, again, I'd like to stress that the old world of innovating was about technology or products or services, and it was very business-oriented. Now what we need innovating is about everything. We need innovating of putting the human faces on technology. We need to innovate our family life. We need to innovate how we go about structuring our job roles. Like, look what happened with the pandemic. We suddenly found that we were moved from our offices and factories and shops to working from home. That's an innovation. That's transforming. And, this is the pattern of the future. Like, as robots take over so many of the activities, 70% of service industries around the world, roughly 80% of the world's population, workforce is in service industries. And they're the area, just like robots and automation, automated factories and machine, did a lot of that work. Now robots will do a lot of the service work. They're doing it already with even surgery and medical diagnosis, like stuff you would never think robots could do or artificial intelligence could do. So we've got a lot of change ahead, and play is useful.
Okay. Well, you mentioned back there just now the Innovation Squad. How's it going?
Well, we're just starting. I mean, we kick-started it during the pandemic. So, it was a wonderful sabbatical time to rethink and reconnect around the world. But it's growing very fast. It's growing partly because I'm not seeking to control it or centralise it. So, for example, one of the things we've done is create a LinkedIn group called Futurists Remaking Our World Far Better. We have 500 members there scattered all over the world. They're all beginning to, liaise, do things together, articulate how they want to change the world. 500 people around the world, impacting on 10 people, impacting on 10 people. That sort of viral activity starts to act like you throw a pebble into the still pond and it ripples, ripples, ripples. It's wonderful.
Oh, well, you remind me of your numbers game, 10 by 10 by 10.
By 10, yes.
Before you know it, you got to 1 million.
Well, I mean, just on a personal note, 5 or 6 years ago, I co-founded an organisation called Sharing. And at that time, the market gave our tokens, our crypto tokens, a value of 0.00001 cent. But in the last year, they increased in value 5,000%. That's just awesome.
Now, core to the Innovation Squad's methodology is the venture bank.
Yes.
Neville, can you explain a bit more about the venture bank, how it works, and why is the venture bank a powerhouse to innovation?
If we go back just before January 2000, if you think about how a new venture started, somebody got an idea, they started to plant the seed, and then they would need to reach out to the bank, or they would need to go to family and friends to get money. They'd need to find a marketing source. They needed to buy computers, etc., etc. So it took a long while for those ideas to develop. And then if they had what was called a unicorn idea, something that could be made into billions of dollars, it would be relatively easy for them to get venture capital. And again, they would reach outside the organisation. But when we take the notion of collaborative innovation and we take, say, 10 existing SMEs that are not in the same marketplace but they are compatible, what have they got? They've got clients, they've got cash flow, they've got ideas, they've got marketing, they've got expertise, they've got every fundamental. Now put 10 of them together, you've got a venture bank. You've got the money, you've got the cash flows, you've got the computers, you've got the ideas, and all one needs is a facilitation to get that 10 by 10 by 10 by 10 by 10. That's what I call the new style venture bank.
Takes not just commitment, though, Neville, but it also takes organisational skills.
Oh, of course, that's part of the organising principle.
Yes.
But one person facilitating a node of 10 is totally doable.
So you haven't got to come up with your own access to finance in quite the same way as you used to.
No, because you've already got it in cash flow. It's already cash flow fundable. And you also know how to bootstrap things. And you don't have to buy your computers and all those overheads. And you don't have to employ team because you've already got them. So it's like you reduce your cost structure significantly so that in the end, nearly every dollar of revenue really goes to the bottom line or close to it.
Okay, but this might be a similar question, but you say that contributors, collaborators, need to be prepared to offer sweat equity.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
Well, again, if we go back to the old model of equity, typically it's I have the idea, so I have equity in my business, but you want to join me, so you better put some money in to get equity, okay? And then I'll go out to the bank, and the bank will want equity in the sense that they want me to sign over all my assets in my house and say that if it goes wrong, they'll close down the business. And a venture capitalist comes in and says, yes, well, I'll loan you that amount of money, but I want this amount of equity. So in the old model, equity is tied very strongly to money and resources. But under the model of the 10 people as a cohort forming a venture bank, now the scarcest resort is their time and their expertise. All the other resources exist. So what we do is that each venture, 10 people get 10% equity in that venture, and it's sweat equity. It's in return for adding their ideas, their resources, their time, their abilities, their talent.
Okay. There are also your tokens, Neville.
Yes.
So what are they? What are your tokens?
Well, in the crypto world, the government has all sorts of issues around the use of cryptocurrencies. So what's developed is coins and tokens. In our sharing network, we have both. So we have coins that we use for suppliers, so we can exchange value between suppliers of their sharing, whatever it is. And we have tokens which users use, and those tokens are placed on crypto exchanges around the world. So they're just alternative forms of cryptocurrencies.
Because, government will fund some projects, won't they? But in reality, how easy is it to access government funds?
Well, let's take our accelerated commercialisation grants, the company I'm chairing, where we have access up to $1 million of matching funds. So what happens there is that a facilitator is employed. They spend up to 7 months getting the organisation ready for government grant, and that amount of matching funds has to be found. But even then, something like about 7% of the groups get funded. So it's not easy.
It's not easy.
And government money always comes with strings, doesn't it?
Yes.
But these don't have strings. They're not equity and they're not repaid. So, they're pretty good grants.
They're
in fact,
valuable.
they're very good grants.
Okay. But all in all, collaboration, isn't it, Neville, that's going to be the driver of major growth of innovation?
I'd just like to pick that up because I think in Australia particularly, and I don't honestly know, I think why. I guess it's partly that we were founded as a prison colony and then, we had the government handing out lots and lots of land to squatters, and then we had the Rum Corps, and we gradually got sort of, a bit of freedom. But a lot of our initial culture base was the more conservative English style culture. But out of that, it's like our appetite for risk is relatively low in Australia. And you'll hear people often say, why doesn't the government do, or why doesn't the United, or why doesn't somebody do it? The whole mindset is, why don't I do it? And why don't I do it collaboratively? That's the biggest single mindset change I think we need at this stage in our world's development.
Well, there's still a lot to do, isn't there, Neville? So where will you be taking things from here?
In multiple directions, of course. As part of the lovely sabbatical that I had with COVID, we formed these 3 platforms, and each of those now we need to develop. Just to remind you, those 3 are, first of all, theinnovationsquad.com, secondly, flippingbooks.com, and thirdly, forinnovationjourneys.com. So they're platforms that people around the world are contributing and building to as assets that anybody can tap into. But in addition, we created 19 different ventures, and I'm just looking for partners and CEOs and fantastic people to pick them up and run with them. And so that'll keep me busy for the next few years anyway.
Neville Christie, Innovation Squad. And those platforms again to get involved, theinnovationsquad.com, flippingflipbooks.com and forinnovationjourneys.com.